Justin, Boresight has had an excellent run on the ASX so far. Why do you think the market is paying so much attention?
I think drones are obviously something that the world is paying attention to at the moment. Certainly the world's militaries are paying attention to it. We're in that space. In the Australian market, we've had companies like EOS and Drone Shield who have been catering to the counter-drone market, and the market has seen those companies do well. Well, EOS and Drone Shield are our customers, as is the ADF and a bunch of other militaries around the world, and I think that's why the interest is there.
Modern warfare has shown that low-cost drones can have a massive battlefield impact. How significant is the gap between today's drone threats and the training systems militaries are currently using?
Most Western militaries are only just starting to get their head around the drone threat. Even though the threat has been there for quite some time, Western militaries tend to be slow-moving bureaucracies, and so they're only just starting to implement programs to bring counter-drone capabilities into service. The Australian military is currently running a program, Land 156, which is their counter-drone procurement program. It's in the process of selecting counter-drone capabilities and evaluating counter-drone capabilities for service in the Australian Defence Force. As those systems come into service, we will see an improvement in their counter-drone training and capabilities, but it's ongoing.
Boresight has built a business around target drones designed to be destroyed during exercises. Why is realistic live training becoming such a critical requirement for Defence Forces?
I think realistic live training has always been a requirement for Defence Forces. In any training continuum, I'm former Defence Force, former Army myself. Throughout my Army career, we were conducting training almost constantly. The more realistic that training was, the better it was. And so having realistic targets and realistic training environments is very important, because you don't want your first exposure to that kind of environment to be when it's a real enemy.
Swarm attacks are becoming one of the biggest challenges in modern warfare. How does Boresight help militaries prepare for coordinated drone threats that are difficult to replicate in traditional training environments?
The Boresight system, obviously we've got the drones, low-cost drones, but we've also got a very sophisticated control system at the back end of our system. That allows operators without a lot of training to actually create swarms, and the back end of our system makes sure that the drones don't bump into one another and they stay within particular geographic boundaries. So it's very simple for a user to create a very realistic drone threat environment with multiple different types of drones and swarms using the Boresight tools.
Looking ahead, do you see counter-drone training becoming a recurring must-have capability for Western militaries? And how large could that opportunity become for Boresight?
So the first part, absolutely. No military is going to ignore the drone threat. It's here. We need to deal with it. We need to get very good at it. And there are multiple elements to that. We need the equipment that enables soldiers to counter drones. They then need to train on that. And they also need to develop their own tactics, techniques and procedures to minimise their exposure to the drone threat. All of that requires a realistic threat emulation. How big is the opportunity? How many drones are they going to need? Well, if I use the Australian Army as an example, there's 28,000 people in the Australian Regular Army, thereabouts. If 1 in 10 of those people needs to shoot 5 drones down a year to maintain their counter-drone competencies, then we're talking about 14,000 drones a year that just the Army will consume. Now, if you then stretch that over some of our allies, the US Marine Corps, 68,000 people, the US Army, 450,000 people, we're now talking in excess of 300,000 drones being consumed a year just to train 1 in 10 of those forces with 5 drones that they bring down a year. Now, that's just a basic extrapolation. It's a big opportunity. They're going to be consuming a lot of drones, and that's before we even go into the other applications for low-cost drones that Boresight can cater to.
Absolutely. We'll be watching closely. Thank you so much, Justin.
No worries. Thank you.